I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, May the 1st. Hooray, hooray, the 1st of May. Brought to you in part by Zactran Antimicrobial by Boehringer Ingelheim. Remember to observe your 35-day withdrawal period after treatment. Zactran, a big supporter of your cattle industry and sponsor of your Market of the Month, which will be announced here on this visit on the feeder flash. Good riddance to April 2020. I tell you what, it has been a wreck. This COVID-19 has taken a toll on everything in this country and all over the world for that matter, especially your small businesses, including your cattle people. And it's this whole month has just been a wreck for your cattle people. And it's got your cow-calf producers and your backgrounders feeling like a sweet-ass steer in a pen full of proud cuts. But we've got to get something done here. The conspiracies are swirling all about this COVID-19. You can believe as much of it as you want to, and that's all there is in the news. Makes me want to watch Gunsmoke and Andy Griffith most of the time. But it's been a complete wreck, except for your packers, and it's been a big boon for them. I mean, they are making money hand over fist, the most money they've ever made in their lives. And it's got your dressed beef prices just launched well past all-time record levels, and it doesn't seem quite fair when your cattle are selling below the cost of production and your dressed beef prices are at all-time record highs, and not by just a little bit. And now we're talking about being in a protein shortage as we can't keep the workers in the plants, we can't keep the plants running at full steam, even though the president has come in and enacted an old wartime act to try to get your workers back in the plants, because it is essential that they get in there and feed this country. But luckily, two of your big four packers are owned by Brazilian companies, and they're ready on standby to bring in more Brazilian imports here to save us from a protein shortage, if that's what you want to call it. But we've got to do something about this deal. Guys, I've been pushing this 30-14 deal, minimum 30% negotiated cash trade for each major packing plant. We've had some of the guys that have been on board here with us, your big state affiliates from NCBA that's been on board with us on the 30-14 all along. They've come out here and announced that they want 50. Yeah, I know they still want 50, but we're still talking about 30% minimum. 50 is a lofty goal up there. When I was a kid, I had a red heeler cow dog that thought he could catch an antelope, and I used to sick him on him every time we saw one, but he never did catch one. But we think that 30 is enough to save the industry. You look even up in your northern plains, where Iowa's sitting as an area at 50% negotiated cash. Of course, they're wanting 50% minimum in their plants, and over in Nebraska, they're sitting at about 33% as an area. But, there's some of their major packing plants that aren't the larger ones that have these big formula feedlots that are filling them with the majority of their needs. And so how are you going to knock those guys back? And how are you going to make room for 50 on negotiated cash? Down in the southern plains, down here in the Texas Panhandle, we've got major packing plants that virtually have bought no cash cattle for several years. How are you going to get those to 50? We think getting them to 30 is a pretty stout ask right there, but we think 30 is enough. And we're still pushing for 30. You can still get on the sign-up letter. It's on uscattlemans.org. You go into news and drop down to your minimum negotiated cash a story on there, and it's right on there. You can click on that link and go in and sign the sign-on letter. We've got over 4,000 signatures by big outfits and all signs of agriculture, and all these outfits have been affected by your cattle business, and they're rooting for the 30-14. I'm going to give you a handful more of them. I have been giving you lots of them, but I want to mention several more, by no means all of them, but just a few more stick-out deals. The Riggin Ranch from Montana signed on, Barrymore Livestock from Oregon, Stagner Farms from Missouri, M&K Red Angus from Kansas has signed on, Nordman Feedlots out of Illinois. They're all over the country, guys, all over this country. Dakota Radio Group from South Dakota, McGowan Properties from Georgia, 4J Cattle Company out of Oklahoma, Yowl Farm Enterprise from Virginia, Sun Valley Cattle from California, Haynes Ranch from Nebraska, Norsol Ferrari from New York, that's interesting, Duncan 7 Agribusiness from Tennessee, the new sale at New Wilmington Sales in Pennsylvania. My buddy Ken Meserak there, and met him back at a sheep and goat sale years ago, but he's been a big supporter of us. And Flying Oak Cattle Company out of Utah. There's lots more in addition to that, but it's a big push. We've still got a big charge going. There's some outfits that's included in our group that are asking for more. We'll take more. We'll take all we can get, but it's a minimum 30% negotiated cash, and we're not going any lower than that. We're going to tack it on to the reauthorization of mandatory price reporting. We feel like that's a good way to do that without having to pass a whole lot of bills and things like that. But we've got several big senators on the Ag Committee that are with us, and we need more support. We need you guys to keep talking about it. We need you guys to call your legislators and tell them that we've got problems in the cattle industry, and if they want to hold this thing together, they want to keep our family farms and ranches together, we've got to do something. And we know that we can get something done because we've had several of these ag senators come in, and they're the ones that pushed President Trump into trying to force these packing plants open, and now he's getting some kind of negative criticism because they don't feel like he's worrying enough about the health of the workers. But we've got to keep these plants open. We're backing up with cattle at every level, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. I think the COVID-19's getting better, but the cattle market's got a long road to hoe before it can catch up, and it's going to be well through the summer, probably well into the fall before we can ever catch up. Best case scenario. But let's look at the board on Thursday. Your April live cattle futures up $4.40. Why? Because it settled at noon. It came to maturity there. Did it converge with cash? No. They got it all the way up to $90 even. That's still about $5 less than, or we had some at 94, $4 or $5 less than your most recent cash sales there, but it did not converge. June live cattle futures up $1.67 at 85.95. You go on out from there, and it ranged from down 2 cents to up 132 on your August. But April feeder cattle futures down 37 cents at 119.17. May down $1.45 at 117.10. You go on your out fronts on your feeder cattle, and they were all down from 137 to 195, but quite a bit lower. Your fat cattle trade, we've had a dribble of trade every day this week. Still didn't amount to too much, but especially in the southern plains, they didn't have hardly any trade at all, including your fed cattle exchange. It was kind of a flop this week. Your packers would not support that. But look at your confirmed sales. Iowa had about 3,200 head. Live sales range from 95 to $1, and dress sales from 147 to 160. And your high end on there, your 160 dressed and your dollar there, was from major packers that are kind of trying to save face and trying to hold things at a reasonable price level, as everybody knows that they're making $1,700, $1,800 a head on every one that they slaughter. Nebraska, 2,000 head confirmed on Thursday from $93.75 to $95, and dress sales from 150 up to 160 on these huge ranges, and you don't get much of an opportunity to sell them. Even when they're coming to you with an honest bid trying to hold things together, they can only buy just a handful, and the packers, of course, are going to go to their favorites. Kansas had just a few sales, about 400 head confirmed, all at $96 live and $150 dressed. In Texas, about 300 head at $95 even. Box beef cutout values, and they've been an absolute joke, guys. It's unbelievable what's happened here, but we didn't see as much gains as we've seen every day this week. About $10 both on choice and select, and you think, well, that's not too much, you know, that's not too far-fetched. Well, most of us had never seen a rise on your choice and select box beef cutout levels more than $2 or $3 until we got to the Holcomb Fire last summer when we started seeing them launch up there. But these gains they've seen are just unbelievable. Choice cuts on the Thursday afternoon, $367.58, up $10.18. Your selects, $350.16, up $10.25. 111 loads of cuts, grinds, and trimmings, and they've absolutely got these retailers over a barrel, and they've got to pay it. It's not a bid up price. It's not a negotiated price. These levels are set by the packers, and your retailers are forced to give it if they want some product to fill their shelves. Let's talk about slaughter. Very, very disappointed. We thought we'd get well over 400,000 this week. Through Thursday, 301,000, 38,000 less than last week's disappointing kill, and 184,000 less than the same week a year ago, which is unbelievable. We got the actual slaughter data for the week ending April the 18th. It was disappointing. We thought it was over 500,000. Come in on your actual at just 486,000. So this backup in your slaughter and the slowdown due to plants being closed and cut back to one shift and what have you due to a lack of workers is even worse than we thought. Your average steer weights on that week ending April 18th were all the way up to 889 pounds, and we're going to see those launch as we go forward and start trying to clean these heavy cattle up when we get an opportunity, but they're going to go further than ever before. Let's talk about your feeder cattle. I mentioned at the start of the talk that Zach Tran sponsors your market of the month. They're big supporters of the cattle industry. I talk about feeder cattle markets here, especially your auction markets, big proponent of the auction markets, and we started the Zach Tran market of the month here the last couple of months. This month, your market of the month is Kimball Livestock Exchange in Kimball, South Dakota. Wade and Christy Christensen and Chad Heason there, and they're doing an excellent job there with really a small market, but they've made it into a big regional sale barn there, and they do such a good job. They've had great sales right through the worst of this COVID-19 crisis and really haven't backed up a bit, albeit at lower price levels, but that's the market. But we want to recognize Kimball Livestock Exchange as market of the month this time. Your real-time index on DV auction ended the day on Thursday at 120.25, actually up 83 cents, and your buyers came into the markets on Thursday pretty aggressive, and namely your corporate feeders came in pretty aggressive, needing to fill some pens. They don't want to miss the hole in market-ready cattle that could come up around December there, but pretty decent market for the way things are, and they weren't a whole lot lower. And you look at your CME cash feeder cattle index, which is always running a day or two behind your RTI, but the latest available was 118.83. And then Friday we're going to get a whole bunch of cheap directs dumped in there, and it's likely going to get sucked back further. But let's look at your big sales for Thursday. Pratt, Kansas, winter livestock there, 3,000 head on offer on Thursday in Pratt. Steers $1 to $5 higher, spots as much as $8 higher on your 7 to 850 pound feeder steers. Heifers over 800 pounds were steady to a couple bucks lower. Under 800 pound heifers were $1 to $2 higher. Farmers and Ranchers Livestock, Salina, Kansas, 4,800 head on offer there. Great run for them. Feeder steers $1 to $3 higher. Steer calves $2 to $3 lower. Your heifers, all weights, were kind of unevenly steady. But look at this quote from lightweight steers, which are quoted lower, but I thought this was a heck of a price. 55 head of 497 pound steer calves bring $173 in Salina, Kansas. Look at some other stick-out quotes. Lamoni, Iowa there had a heck of a sale on this set of 7-weight steers. 189 head, 714 pound steers at $143.25. Mitchell Livestock, Mitchell, South Dakota. I tell you, they sell those big warmed up feeders better than anybody. Look at this quote from them. 55 head, 1,024 pound steers at $113.25. Billings Livestock Commission, Billings, Montana. 58 head, almost 800 pounds, 798 pound steers bring $129.75. But the top quote on Thursday come out of Ogallala Livestock. Ogallala, Nebraska, 119 head, 671 pound steer calves, bring 151.75. And that's your feeder flash for Friday.